This is The Lost Art of Closing, Winning the 10 Commitments That Drive Sales. And it is the second book that I've written in what is called the first pass, I think. And this is my last chance to read the book one more time, to spot all of the spelling errors, any grammatical problems, any clunky sentences, and anything that just doesn't read right or where the intention's wrong, because it's the very last time I get to look at the book. And then I hand it off to a publisher, and I don't see it again until it comes back as an actual book. And at that point, it's all done. It's set. It's in for production, and I never get to see it again. So a little disconcerting, but that's the work that I have to do over the next couple days just to make sure that I get to look at everything. And I've read the book a number of times, but you always still find one more typo. And I've got a team of people working on it, so hopefully we're perfect. There was one typo in the Only Sales Guide. We missed it, but we fixed it on the second printing. I'm not here to talk about the book. I'm here to talk about your detrimental reliance on subject matter experts. And if you're a salesperson and you cannot have a conversation with a decision maker or a decision influencer or a stakeholder because you don't have a SME sitting right next to you, then you have a problem that you need to correct. And let me start with a disclaimer before I give you a recipe and a prescription for how to get off of the reliance of a SME. So first, you don't have to be as deep as a subject matter expert in their area of expertise. You don't have to be that deep, but you also cannot be a know-nothing. You cannot be non-conversational with no depth in the subject matter that your SME knows. You have to have some depth of knowledge. If you want to be a trusted advisor, you need two things. Number one, you need trust. Number two, you need advice. You lose half of the recipe when you're trusted and you don't have the advice, so you have to have the advice, which means you need to be conversational. And I want to tell you why this is important. The person sitting across from you is making a decision as to who they want to put on their team. And they're looking for somebody who has wisdom, situational knowledge, experience, insight, the ability to orchestrate a team, somebody who can see their future, see around corners, help them avoid risks. They're thinking about bringing somebody in to be a trusted advisor, a strategic partner, and somebody who's consultative. And you can't be consultative and know nothing about what you're consulting about. It's impossible. It's okay to use SMEs, but you can't use a SME on every call, and you should be less and less reliant on a SME as time goes by, because you can pick up their schtick and it's not that hard to figure out. Let me tell you how to do that. Here's what you do. Take a SME on the calls with you just like you normally do right now, except do one thing different. Pay careful attention to the questions that they ask your prospective client and write those questions down. When the client answers, write some notes about their answers so you get some context there and you know what they're talking about. And then write down the SME's response whenever they have that conversation. And then do it the other way. When the client asks the SME a question, write that down. Write down what the SME answers so you start to get that. And then when you get to the curbside sales meeting, when you're leaving and you're having that conference that you're right on the sidewalk, you're right outside the building, start hammering the SME with questions. Why did they ask that? What point were they trying to get at? What's the need behind that need so I understand what they were really asking? When you ask them this question, what were you asking them for? Where did you hope that was going to go? When they answered and you took it a different direction, why did you take it a different direction there? Help me understand that. And if you do this 5, maybe 6 times in a row, and you pay careful attention and you write down the questions and the answers, you're going to know the SME shtick pretty well. And then you're conversational. So again, we're not this deep, but we're at least this deep. And they say, what do you think about the technological solution that we're thinking about here? And you can say, listen, we have really strong opinions. We prefer this to this. And here's why, in our experience, this one works better. Or they bring in their marketing people and the marketing people say, what do you think about this? And what about this data? What should we be looking at? And you can say, in most cases, we like this data set better than that one. We get better results when we look at it through this lens than this lens. That's our opinion on this, but I'll bring in a SME later and we can get a deeper dive. Is that directionally what you were thinking? Tell me what you think. You're having a conversation, and when you sit down and you try to do a discovery meeting and you can't do discovery because you don't have a SME, and you can't share ideas because you don't have any ideas, then you're alienating your prospective client, and you have a choice every time you sit down with a client, and you're going to be a value creator or you're going to be a time waster. You're going to be one of the two. You've got to be the value creator, which means you must be conversational. So get off of your reliance on a SME. Get to the point where you're conversational. You can bring them in when you need them, as you need them. But you've got the subject matter expertise down well enough that people trust you and they look to you for your advice and your counsel. I'm Anthony Iannarino, and this is Everyday.